For over 100 years, one of the world's great ancient civilizations has been completely silent. The Indus Valley people, they left behind thousands and thousands of messages, but we couldn't read a single one. Today, we're going to explore a totally new way of looking at this problem, treating it not as a lost language, but as a secret code just waiting to be cracked.
All right, let's just jump right in. Imagine finding a message in a bottle that's 4,000 years old. Pretty amazing, right? Now imagine finding over 4,000 of them. That is the incredible mystery of the Indus script. But what if the key to finally reading it wasn't buried in some dusty ruin, but was actually hiding in the modern world of cryptography?
So first, let's get a handle on who we're talking about. The Indus Valley civilization was absolutely massive. It was bigger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. These people built incredible, meticulously planned cities with plumbing systems that were centuries ahead of their time. They were trading with civilizations across the ocean, and yet their writing has been a complete and total puzzle. And look, this isn't some recent mystery. We're talking about a civilization whose story stretches across millennia. The very first seals with this strange script date all the way back to 4000 BCE. That's 6,000 years ago. And for all that time, their thoughts, their names, their history, it's all been locked away from us. The sheer scale of this puzzle is just immense. Archaeologists have dug up more than 4,300 of these inscriptions. They're on little seals, on tablets, on pottery. I mean, that is a mountain of data, a massive pile of clues. But up until now, every single one of them has been silent.
So why has this been such an impossible nut to crack? Well, there are a few really tough problems. For one, the inscriptions are incredibly short. The average one is just 5 little signs long. That's not much to work with. Then we have no idea what language they were actually speaking. And the real killer? There's no Rosetta Stone. No handy translation into a language we already know. It's been a total dead end for 100 years.
But this is where the whole approach gets turned on its head. What if we've all been looking at this the wrong way? Instead of treating it like a lost language that needs a linguist, what if we treat it like a secret code that just needs a code breaker?
And that brings us to this key idea, the cryptogram. A cryptogram isn't some alien language. It's a message written in a language we might actually know. It's just been scrambled using an unknown alphabet or script. The challenge completely shifts. You're not trying to discover a lost language anymore. You're just trying to solve a cipher. And suddenly, the problem doesn't feel so impossible.
Now, this whole idea comes from the absolute giant of information theory, Claude Shannon. His big insight, the one that changed everything, was that to break a code, you don't actually need to understand what the words mean. You just need to understand the language's patterns, how often certain letters appear, which letters like to hang out together, its unique statistical fingerprint. That right there is the key. Shannon also gave us this incredibly powerful tool called unicity distance. It's basically a mathematical formula that tells you exactly how much coded text you need before you can be sure, statistically certain, that there is only one possible right answer. It's how you know you've really cracked it and you're not just guessing. And for the Indus script, it turns out the magic number is about 471 signs. Once we cross that threshold, we're golden.
Okay, but even if it's a code, you can't break it without knowing what language it's hiding, right? You can't test every language that ever existed. You have to do some detective work, follow the clues, and narrow down the list to your prime suspects.
And there's a real method to this. It's a systematic process. First, you make your best guess for the language. Then, you start hunting for unique patterns in the script, like a symbol that appears 3 times in a row. You then search your target language for words that fit that exact pattern. And every time you solve one sign, it becomes a key to help you unlock the next one. It's like a giant Sudoku puzzle.
So, who are the prime suspects for the language? Well, for decades, the debate has been between 2 major candidates, an ancient form of Dravidian and an early form of Sanskrit. This new cryptographic analysis points pretty strongly towards Sanskrit. It argues that the way the script creates these long, compound words just doesn't fit with Dravidian grammar, but it's a perfect match for how Sanskrit works. Plus, there's some incredible outside evidence. Sumerian trading records from that same time period mention people from Meluha, which was their name for the Indus Valley, and their names appear to be Sanskrit.
So, with Sanskrit locked in as the target language, the cryptographic method really starts to work its magic. Suddenly, the strange patterns in the Indus signs start to line up perfectly with the statistical patterns of Sanskrit words. The code, well, it starts to break.
And here it is. This is where we see the first pieces of the puzzle just click into place. By matching those unique patterns, specific signs start to give up their secrets. For instance, the sign that looks like a jar probably represents the sound an, and the famous fish sign represents the sound m. It's based on a simple idea where a picture stands for the first sound of its name in Sanskrit. And as more and more signs get decoded, something absolutely stunning starts to emerge.
Okay, this right here is the moment that could rewrite the history books. When you take the deciphered Indus signs and you place them side by side with signs from Brahmi, a known script from India just from a later period, the similarity is just undeniable. It looks like the Brahmi script is a cleaned-up, standardized version of the much, much older Indus script. This isn't just a decipherment anymore. It's evidence of a direct lineage, a connection through time.
So if the code is really cracked, what have they been trying to tell us all this time? For the very first time, we might actually be able to hear their voices.
Let's take a look at one of the longest inscriptions ever found. When you run it through this new cryptographic key, the translation that comes out is, "Honor the powerful roarer." Now, the roarer isn't just a random phrase. It's a very well-known name for the Vedic god Rudra. All of a sudden, this isn't just a random string of symbols on a 4,000-year-old seal. It's a prayer.
And it's not a one-off thing either. Here's another inscription. This one seems to read, "O roarer, that gift of powerful soma juice." Soma was a sacred ritual drink that's mentioned all over the Vedas. The cultural connections just keep getting stronger and more consistent with every single translation.
So, what's the bottom line here? If this all holds up, what does it mean? Well, it suggests that the Indus people were speaking an early form of Sanskrit, right from the era of the sacred Vedas. It means their little seals were stamped with names and prayers and mottos that were deeply tied to that culture. And maybe, most profound of all, it could draw a direct, unbroken line from the Bronze Age Indus Valley right through to later Indian history, filling in a huge, monumental gap in our story of the past.
You know, after literally centuries of silence, an entire civilization might have just started speaking to us again. Their voices, carried on these tiny little seals, are giving us a glimpse into their world, into what they believed. The real question now is, as we keep translating, what other secrets has the Indus Valley been waiting all this time to tell us?